how's it going? Okay, so you can say hi when you jump on, and I am going to bring on Jess. Hey, Jess. Okay, so let me invite her. With Jess from Tasty Meditation this evening. So many hearts. Hello, hello. Okay, it's just connecting with Jess. Hey, Jess.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good morning where you are, right?
Yep, it's 6:15 in the morning over here.
Oh my goodness, thank you for waiting.
Yeah, no worries. So, thanks for joining.
Thank you for inviting me. This was so nice. I'm very
Yeah.
new to like the split screen and everything and the comments at the bottom. Hi. I'm gonna be distracted by the comments. So like just pull me back if you need.
It's okay. It's okay. So, let's get started with just introducing yourself and telling people about you.
Cool. Well, my name is Jessica Hansen. I run the blog Tasty Meditation. I'm based out of New York City, and along with Erin Smith from Gluten Free Globetrotter and Gluten Free Fun, together we run the New York City Celiac Disease Meetup Group, which is the largest gluten free meetup group in the world.
That's so awesome. And it's been going for a long time, right?
It's like, time is such a funny thing. Like, oh yeah, it's like a little over 10 years old. I think it's like 14 or 15 at this point. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, like way before everything was cool, you know?
That's awesome. Yes, for sure. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So on average, like how many people do you have attend events?
It's so funny because we have, I think now over 2,500 members. And
Wow.
I know sometimes when we talk with restaurants, they're like, we can't fit 2,500. I know, don't worry. Like New York schedules are crazy. We won't get 2,500 people. We'll get, a dozen. So it ends up being really nice, and it's a wonderful way to. I always like to support the restaurants in the community that support us, and it's wonderful because so many times I'm sure you experienced this too. When I was diagnosed, I knew no one with celiac disease. So when you come to the group and nearly everyone there has celiac, there's just this wonderful instant empathy and instant connection with other people. And then we all just start talking about like hot topics in the community and questions that everybody has. And it's just such a wonderful community based resource.
That's so great. I love that. So, can you tell us a little bit about your celiac diagnosis and what that was like?
Sure. I was experiencing symptoms for, I think, about 6 years. And just assumed that I had stomach aches and a sensitive stomach and like had no clue what would trigger it. Like food diaries didn't work. And I later found out why food diaries didn't work. Like one, celiac, but like two, I have a delayed reaction time. So I'm very careful and rarely get glutens, but there was one day when I like ate the thing and was like, oh no, let's start a timer, let's start a diary and like see how things go. And it was 2 days before I felt any symptoms. So
Wow.
nothing for me. So there was one point when my stomach ache just didn't go away for weeks. And I went to several doctors trying to figure things out. And my mom called me and she said, oh, I just read about this thing called celiac. And it sounds like you. And I looked it up and I was like, that sucks. And so I went to my doctor and they're like, no, this sounds like you. And like they called me and they're like, all of your blood levels were off the charts. And I had just like in defiance opened up every single bag of cracker in the house. And it was like, well, now I have all these crackers. So I very quickly, after my endoscopy, I said, okay, you make a change. And that's just what you do. I'm a big believer that like you're dealt a hand of cards and you can either like throw the cards up in the air and flip the table over and like, where does that get you? Or you can just play the hand of cards you have.
Absolutely. Yeah, and especially now. I mean, well, how many years ago was that?
That was 8 years ago. And again, like all the time, people are like, oh, when were you diagnosed? I was like, oh, probably like 5 years ago or something. So it was like just when I think more people were starting to learn about it, like there was a surge in suddenly, like slightly before the fad diet, when people were like, oh, this is like something that we need to help people with, you know?
Yes, that's the same, actually, the same time frame as myself. So 8 years next month.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, and it's the same. But honestly, so I was talking with Matt last night of Wheatless Wanderlust, and we were talking. He's been celiac for 10 years, and it's really been like the last 5 years, I would say, where things have gotten so much easier. There's so much more conversation around it. I don't feel like people feel as alone because there are more conversations around it, and
Mhm.
there's more resources, or we're more aware of the
Yeah.
resources.
Mhm. But at the same time, I feel like, you know, in New York City, I'm so lucky to be here because there are so many wonderful restaurants that like really are specifically here for the celiac community. Like those are the places that I'm like, take my money. I will come back here over and over again. You know, the places that are like, hey, give us your money. I'm like, no, I want to go to the places that like care about me, you know? So, but there are so many places here where they just don't take it seriously at all, and everyone's out to make a buck. So, like one of my local bakeries, I would love to eat there. It's so cute and so lovely. And I walked in, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we have tons of gluten-free options." And they have this jar, and inside the jar are the gluten-free cookies and the regular cookies
All together.
all together. All together. And I'm like, you know, that's not okay. And they're like, but where do we put the cookies? And I'm like, you guys, this is, you just can't do it if you can't do it, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I was saying, I think it's easy then to be like, okay, here's how you could do it, and then if they adapt, great, and if they don't, then that's where the problem comes in, where you're like, okay, I'm going to choose to take my business elsewhere, right? Like, because what I'm seeing and loving is all these restaurants and places that are either having consultants or different people coming in that are training them, if
Mm,
they're not an entirely gluten-free restaurant, like training
yeah.
them on proper protocol for serving celiacs.
Mhm.
And I think that's just so exciting because, people are wanting to be accommodating, and it's just, they're not meaning to be ignorant necessarily. They just don't have the tools to know. And so then once they do know, they're like, oh, we can serve people with celiac disease. This is how we do it.
Yeah. And I love it when a restaurant recognizes, like, you're very smart if you recognize, oh, there's a community for this, there's a need for this. Let's do it right because we want the actual community here. But like this specific cafe, they just couldn't do it. You know, I had mentioned to them because they were talking about sandwiches that they had. I asked a lot of questions, and I said, "Oh, well, you need a separate toaster for your gluten-free stuff." And they said, we can't have a separate toaster. We don't have enough space." And I think that's one of the things about New York is that all of the kitchens are so, so tiny. So you have to be very careful about places that really don't take cross-contamination precautions because everything is so small.
Including places to live, including.
Right? Apartment. We're just like over things constantly.
Yes, yes. So speaking of New York, tell us some of your favorite restaurants.
Ooh, I have so many. Do you want to know about only dedicated, like 100% gluten-free restaurants? Or
Whatever you like, whichever ones.
cool. I have so many. Modern Bread and Bagel is new, and it's like new-ish, a couple months old, and it's one of my absolute favorites. Like I'm there every week. I'm friends with everybody, and they just opened a new restaurant in the evening. Like it's Modern Bread and Bagel during the day, and Arba in the evening. I haven't been to Arba yet, but I'm very excited. Um, Risotteria Malati is another favorite. That one is also 100% gluten free. And their sister restaurant is in Rome, I think.
Mm.
Bistango on 29th Street is not 100% gluten free, but they've been doing gluten free stuff for like 15 years or something like that. And they're very careful about cross contamination and prep space. And like the first thing that they ask when you walk in is, do you have any food allergies? And Chris is my fiance. We're getting married in like 4 days. We're actually
Yep, and we're gonna come back to that because somebody
right.
asked. So
Cool.
keep going.
So we're actually renting out the restaurant, the Sango, for our
Ah,
kitchen so that everyone can eat. It was where we had our second date, so it's very meaningful and nice. Casa Enrique is another one that I is newly discovered, or like newly discovered, like it's new to me.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's in it's like a different continent or something. It's in Long Island City, and they're very careful about everything. I think that they only have like 5 things on their menu that have gluten on it. So like most of the stuff is gluten free naturally, and they're a Michelin star restaurant. So that was amazing. And then also, I always like to give disclaimers when I work for a company or a restaurant. I just think like it's the appropriate thing to do,
Yeah,
you know?
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I'm Senza Gluten's social media manager, and I've been going there forever. And like Chris and I, like on Sundays, we would like go and like when subways are bad, like go an hour and 15 minutes into the city just to have brunch there and then go home. So like that's just what we do and what we did before I was hired. So I've been recommending them for years, and everything is 100% gluten free there, and the owners care so much, and I love it there so much. And then there's a new bakery, hot tip, a new bakery opening up called Le Gourmand, I believe. It's going to be
Okay.
on the Upper West Side, and it's all gluten free, and they have croissants.
Ah, do they have chocolate croissants?
Yes, they do.
Oh,
So I got a little sneak peek the other day and was like, oh my God, get excited, everybody, get excited. So I think that those are currently my top favorite.
that's awesome. I mean, I know that the New York restaurant scene is awesome just in
Mm.
general, but especially for celiacs and gluten-free
Right?
eaters, which is great.
There's so many that like I just haven't been to yet that I know are just like very well known for doing it, but I'm like there's just too many to go to, and I'm such a creature of habit. I'm like I just want the risotto that I love, and I just want this ravioli.
Absolutely. Okay, so wedding, 4 days. Tell us, tell us about it.
So, oh my goodness, where do I start? Um, no. One of the big things was food, because I've definitely been to a lot of weddings where I'm like, well, I'm gonna take like this chicken out of my bag, and oh, the chicken went bad by the time it's dinner time, and then you're just sitting there and you're eating like a protein bar, and everyone's asking you why you're eating a protein bar, and
Yes.
you know. I always do bring cake with me though. Like that's one thing where like the bride get their cake and I'm like, and I have my own.
That's genius.
My mom is also gluten free, and I went to my
Okay.
cousin's wedding, and they were like, "We'll get you a meal. It's vegetarian," and I was like, "No,
That's not what we're going for here.
no." So my mom just made me gluten free cupcakes, and I ate gluten free cupcakes all night long, and it was amazing. You know.
That's so nice.
So one of our priorities was that we wanted me to be able to eat, and our friends. I looked at the guest list, and between my friends with celiac disease, like people who I've become friends with through the meetup group or through blogging, but then also I have friends who are diagnosed with celiac who've like been my friends for years, and
Mm.
they're like, I just got a blood test done. So like it's just so interesting how you never know, right? You
Yeah,
never.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm. So, between celiac disease, food allergies, other food intolerances, about 35% of our guest list has food intolerances that they need
Hmm.
a comp. And one of the big things that I have learned about caterers and just like weddings in general is that the wedding industry is so massive, right? Like, I love
Yes.
weddings. They're nice, they're lovely, but like the industry itself is crazy. Absolutely crazy. And the caterers just want your money, right? So they're going to tell you anything. They're going to tell you, oh, yeah, we do gluten free. We do it all the time. If people want it, we do it. And they really don't know how. most of them. And so then you have to ask all of the very specific questions. And then if there's the red flags, you have to be like, oh, I wanted this to work out, but it's not. And if you already hired them, then there's an issue. So we just really wanted people to be able to eat and feel safe and have fun. So we said, let's just, keep it mellow and have a nice time and just have lots of wine. And we'll just rent out a restaurant meaningful to us and one that we trust and just have a great time.
That's awesome. So it's going to be entirely gluten-free?
It's not entirely gluten-free. Gluten-free for the people who need it to be. Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay.
So,
so what are you doing for dessert?
Dessert. So the restaurant is providing dessert. So we picked one. Like, one of the desserts had to be gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free. Like, just to accommodate one person. But we were like, we have to give this one person dessert,
Oh, that's so sweet.
So one of them accommodates, like, every single food allergy, and then the other one's going to be like a flourless chocolate cake thing, and we're getting a small cutting cake because if they're providing dessert, we didn't need to have like a whole other cake, and I like multiple desserts. I don't know, comment if you like multiple desserts.
Absolutely.
So my friend Antonella from Crumville Bake Shop, she makes like just gorgeous cakes, and they're so beautiful. They're layered cakes. Oh, celiac in the set.
Yeah, Ashley. Taylor too.
So they're gorgeous layered cakes, and they're naked cakes. And they're just so pretty and beautiful and so delicious and so good. And she's actually the queen of shipping cakes. She will ship a cake from New York to California, and it will arrive like totally intact and incredible and amazing. So like when we got engaged, I was like, we're getting a cake from Crumville, right? Cake from Crumville, I like so many. I want to try so many flavors.
I love that. And that's a great little plug for people to know, just in general, right? Like, I think that and I'm kind of working on creating more resources around that, like different specific things. Like I think it was Erica, Celiac and the Beast came out with, I don't know if it was bakeries that ship or something, but there's not as much, out there in terms of like, oh, here's a list of bakeries that will ship all over the US or that will ship in Canada or wherever, right? Like there's good resources now coming out with lists and things, but like that's great information for people to know. Maybe they live in like a small town that doesn't have safe options or they don't like their options. So that's awesome.
And if you're in New York City, there are so many options for pickup as well. And, I'm a big fan of like doing whatever you want for a wedding, like who cares? It's your wedding. There's always going to be like those two people in the back going like, ooh, this thing, I don't like it. Ooh, this thing, I don't like that. Like there's always going to be people judging your wedding. Right? So like, just do whatever you want. So one of my friends did this thing where she had a little cutting cake as well. And that was her gluten-free cake. And anyone else who needed gluten-free would also get a little slice of it. But in the back was a big sheet cake that was a regular cake, and that's what was cut. And she like cut the costs of this cake thing by hundreds of dollars just by having her gluten-free cutting cake and a giant regular sheet cake. So I'm a big fan of that kind of thing. And if you're looking for like a single cake, I know that there's like Crumville Bake Shop, there's Everybody Eats. They make amazing cakes. And I believe always double check things, right? That's always a disclaimer, like double check everything. I believe Everybody Eats is also nut free too.
Okay.
Beautiful cakes, wonderful team. And Senza Gluten also has little cakes that you can go into the bakery and pick up as well. So there's so many places that do it. Like have the cake you want.
Yeah. Well, you guys have several bakeries, right? You have By the Way Bakery. You have Erin McKenna.
No Glue as well.
No Glue. Yeah. I mean, so many different. Posh Pop. I don't know if they make cakes, but I know they're newer. Mm-hmm. Their stuff looks incredible. Every day I'm like, oh my gosh.
Right? For the meetup group, I used to do bakery walking tours, and we would go to 100% gluten-free bakeries. Like that was the thing of the tour. And we would just walk from one place to another and, you know, just buy whatever we wanted and then walk to the next one and eat as we go. And it was so much fun. And unfortunately, we've had a couple of bakeries that have closed recently and have disrupted the tour. So, no, right? So sad. So I'm gonna have to figure it out again. But you know, that's one of the things. Like, if there's a place that you really love, give them your business. You know, like give them shout outs on your social media. You know, choose to go to the places that you want to stay open.
Yeah, well, and that's why I was, so somebody else said they only eat out of their entirely gluten-free kitchen. I get it, you know, and that's like,
Yeah.
that's why I created my resource of 100% gluten-free spots all over the world for that very reason. I was just finding people were saying that they didn't feel safe, and everyone, again, everyone has an opinion, which they're entitled to, you know, but like my celiac is not your celiac, but if you choose to only eat out at entirely gluten-free restaurants, more power to you. Like I don't, but I know a lot of people only do that. And so I wanted to provide a resource for that. Right. But then speaking to what you're saying about supporting businesses, I was talking to Coral from Serving Celiacs yesterday, and I was saying like, that's my bigger why of why I did it, because I wanted these restaurants, you know, and then to talk to them, to understand why they exist, to support them, to have other people support them, because you know, some of them are small, some of them have blown up and are huge now. They're every variety in between, but everyone starts small, right? Like whether or not they grow to that capacity, a number of factors. But I think it's so important that we see the face behind the business.
Yeah.
You know, and you get to see that with all the work you do in New York and all the different restaurants that you work with and see, which is awesome.
And I love supporting small businesses. Like that's so much of what I do through my blog, because I think like that's really what it's at, where it's at, right? That's where the excitement is these small businesses that are doing things right with like really good ingredients, a lot of them with dedicated facilities or certifications. And we want those to grow, right? I mean, it can't all be these giant corporations that say, oh, let's do gluten-free today because we think we can make more money, right?
Right.
The small businesses are doing it for all of the right reasons. That's who I want to support. That's who I want to succeed.
Yeah. And then I do love when they grow and they get to those levels of being bigger, right? Like, because they all start, I mean, you think about every company. Like I remember reading, I don't know if you've read, blanking on her name, but the CEO of Simple Mills, like she started it when she was in her 20s, like in her kitchen doing whatever. And she totally blew up, right? But it was very humble beginnings of her having this vision all based around health. Like she wanted to use really good ingredients for her products.
And like bread, seriously, it's my favorite gluten-free bread on the market that's available like commercially and shipping everywhere. Also, disclaimer, I'm an affiliate for Bread Seriously, so I get a little kickback, but like I think I made like I make no money off my blog. I think I made like it's just not my goal. I teach fitness classes. That's what I do for money. I do my blog for, you know, the things that I love. I think I made like $100 last year through like the kickbacks, and then I just bought more Bread Seriously. Like literally, that is what happened. But I love Bread Seriously because my fiance is from San Francisco, and like the sourdough in San Francisco, like there's something about the atmosphere or like something specific that creates this tanginess in it, and it's hard to get that tanginess when you're making sourdough in other parts of the country. And so they ship it, and they blew up, and they got so big that they said, oh my goodness, guys, like we literally can't handle all of our orders. So we have to like, I think that they were moving facilities and then trying to accommodate and then saying, okay, we'll sell sourdough like once a week online, and you got to get, and now I think that they're up to like bigger production standards. But I was like, you know, we might not be able to order for a few months, but like bravo, you know, I want you to grow.
Yeah,
Grow.
that's awesome. So someone just named a place in Florida. That's awesome. And then somebody else said they're in the Bay Area, so shout out to the Bay Area. Yay.
Bay Area. So many good restaurants too, like Mariposa Baking, right? And Pika Pika Arepa. I dream of Pika Pika Arepa.
Agreed. So I just interviewed Matt from Wheatless Wanderlust last night, who's in San Francisco. So if you're watching and you need some tips on San Francisco, go watch that. It's still in my stories. He named off all his favorite places. He also has a really good guide for San Francisco, so you can check that
Mm-hmm.
out.
Cool. Yeah, his blog is great.
Yeah, he does a really thorough job. I like his guides.
Mm-hmm. And like Pika Pika Arepa, that's always on my list whenever we go to San Francisco. Normally we visit once a year. And the last time we went, everyone got the flu. And so we were like up north and we couldn't go down to San Francisco because like just everyone was sick. And I'm sorry, I was upset because they had the flu too. But like I was really upset Pika Arepa that year. It's my one time.
One of my absolute favorite places in Denver is an arepa place. So if anyone goes to Denver, you literally must go to Kira Arepas. They have been around for years. They were, I believe, the first certified gluten-free food truck in the country, like years ago. And they have grown and expanded so much. Speaking of small businesses, it's just like awesome to watch them grow because they have this like food stall. There's this really cool, like trendy place that has a couple different food stalls and a bar and whatever inside. But then they just opened a brick and mortar store too. So now they have all the locations and they're just doing awesome.
Cool. That's amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
businesses.
Yeah. I know. It's so exciting. And Pika Pika, like I love them. They are such fabulous people. I've interviewed them. They were one of the sponsors of my ebook. Like they're just great.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so cool. Excuse me for one sec. My eyes are going crazy today.
That's
It's
okay.
About Graves' disease. Eye issues with it. And
Interesting.
all fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, wrapping up, would you give anyone tips that's like newly diagnosed or anxious about their diagnosis? What would you say to them?
You know, I'd say find a community, and it's hard to find a community. And that's why, you know, the online community can be so great, but there's also so much bad information online. So, you know, find some good resources like Carrie's blog and everything is a great resource as well. Reach out, do a lot of reading. I really like the University of Chicago's website. I think that like most questions you have will be answered on their website. It's such a good tool. And, let me rephrase this. Be assertive about your needs. That's one thing that I had to really learn because I didn't want to make waves and I didn't want to make things into a big deal. And there was a retreat that I went on and it was an acting retreat. And I said, you know, it's a week long. Let me make my own food, please. And they said, no, we want you to be free to be creative. And I said, I don't think that's gonna work. You know, I won't feel free to be creative if I'm just throwing up, right? And so I kept seeing the two cooks doing things wrong, and I would just like sneak into the kitchen and be like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, and it's this, I'm so sorry, and one of them was my friend, and she eventually came to me and she said, Jessica, stop it. It's what you need. It's your health. So stop apologizing and stop it. And I just said, thank you. And I walked away. Like I was going to say, oh, I'm sorry. But I was like, nope.
Nope.
Thank you. I walked away and then I was like, yeah, that's like one of the best lessons to learn with celiac is like, it's your health. So if you need to leave a restaurant, if you need to ask more questions, if you need to just sit there and drink wine all night, like, don't eat something that's sketchy. Don't apologize for what you need. It's what you need. So yeah.
I love that. And I think that everyone goes through that, you know, like that's part of the process. And I think especially as women, even more so. But I would say go follow Rachel Hollis, go read her book, Girl Stop Apologizing, along those lines. But also seriously, I mean, and that's kind of been a theme of everyone I've talked to, if they're honest, is like learning to advocate for yourself. Maybe, you know, there's the rare few people that already were really good at that, but a lot of people aren't, you know, and unfortunately or fortunately, because what I say is one of my mantras is like, no one's going to care about your life as much as you do, regardless, your health, your business, your everything, your career, it's up to you. So you do have to learn that skill. And for me, I'm like, that's a blessing that you get to learn it through celiac, because then you get to take your health seriously. It's on you.
And, you know, I was with someone at the time of my diagnosis who thought I was making a mountain out of a molehill with celiac. Like, he thought it was such a small thing and would yell at me, and he would bully me about it. He, like, took his hand into a bag of pretzels and put them on my I know.
That's
like,
awful.
what are you doing? And I dumped him, you know? I said, no, you know, I'm important than that. My self-respect is more important than that. So if the people, nice comments. If the people, what is that, poof face? Oh, I know who this is. She meant to write she meant to write poop face. If the people around you are bullying you, you know, make the change, because they're probably not going to stop, you know. Make a change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm so sorry you went through that, and I'm so proud of you for standing up for yourself, because that's not easy, especially in a relationship.
Right? It's like, you don't expect the people you love to bully you. It's not right, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely not.
Someone who like really respects celiac. He actually was the one who told me to start blogging. I was like, you know, I'm not gonna blog. You know, there's so many bloggers out there. And he was like, stop it. You're being selfish. You need to be a blogger. And I was like, okay.
Yes. That's the thing, right? When you flip the script and you understand, like, it's not selfish. You have something to share with other people, and you have information in your head, and you have a way of helping people. That's your unique voice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, be vocal about everything. Stand up for yourself. It's wonderful.
Good. I love that. So where can people find you?
You can find me on tastymeditation.com. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter on Tasty Meditation. Oh, someone just said your blog is very helpful. That might be meant for you, Carrie, too. So thank you.
No, it's meant for you. I know it.
Well, your blog is very helpful, Carrie. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. I love it. I just love helping people.
Me too. It's not the best.
Right? Yes. Yes. I mean, I feel like, hopefully that's why everyone does it, right?
Right? Exactly. Exactly. Like my senators, like, if you're not here to help people, just go home.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so everyone go follow Jess, Tasty Meditation. If you have questions about anything we talked about, you can DM us. I will go back through the comments. Somebody asked about Australia. I saw that. Reach out to Olivia at Yum Gluten Free, or I'll follow up if I can reread the comments, because Australia does have lots of certified gluten-free places. I know that they do. Mm-hmm. And Olivia is a fantastic resource.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, thanks, Jess. This was so fun.
Thank you for having me on. This was really fun.
Yeah, and happy wedding.
Thank you. I'm going to go to a day spa tomorrow, you guys.
As you should. My gosh, yes. Enjoy. Like, seriously, pamper yourself. Enjoy every minute.
Thanks so much. So, people watching, I'll talk to you soon. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jess. Bye.
Bye.